What's up, YouTube? It is 9:50 on Tuesday night, and I was falling asleep watching Modern Family, and then I woke up to go brush my teeth, and I learned that Riot just dropped some spoilers for Set 2 Riftbound Spiritforged. This is going to be my 100% live reaction. I have not read a single card that we're about to go over yet, so I'm super excited. If you guys are excited for Set 2 of Riftbound, definitely drop a like, sub, hype this video. Trying to cover this as quickly and as efficiently as possible for you guys because I've got work in the morning. But anyways, let's go ahead and take a look at our first legend. We have Azir, Emperor of the Sands. Your Sand Soldiers have Weapon Master. This was a big speculation about Azir, that he would have some sort of token spamming strategy, and it looks like he is not failing to deliver on that. I should probably also mention he is a Calm Order legend, so sharing the same colors as Leona. And his ability says, pay 1 and tap himself, play a 2 might Sand Soldier unit token to your base, use only if you've played an equipment this turn. Okay, this is super interesting because that modifier, use if only you've played an equipment this turn, is really important because otherwise he would just be a direct upgrade to Victor, which would be, you know, a pretty direct form of power creep. This does require you to go through the extra step of actually playing an equipment. So we'll see how the equipments that go with his archetype fare for him. And then we don't know what Weapon Master does yet, so we'll have to kind of wait and see. But let's go ahead and take a look at our next card. We have Draven, Vanquisher. So Draven is a 4 might, 4 energy unit with no power cost. When I win a combat, play a gold gear token exhausted. Okay, so when I attack or defend, you may pay a red power, and if you do, give me +2 this turn. Okay, so as a 4 energy, 1 power, he is going to be a 6 might unit, which is definitely above rate. He has to survive though, unless you play him with something like Sundisk, which is really, really good. You guys know how much I love Sundisk here on the channel. Card's incredible, and with Sundisk and proccing the Legions, you can turn this into immediate 4-cost 6 might attacker, which can definitely be pretty good. Let's go ahead and take a look at Longsword. Looks like we're getting some items. We see Starax Gauge down here as well. So, alright, we have a 2-drop, 1 power cost gear. Quick Draw. This has reaction. When you play it, attach it to a unit you control. Okay, so if I'm understanding that correctly, it might have reaction in your hand, and then you attach it at reaction speed, I think is what I'm understanding it to be. And then you equip it for a red power, attach this to a unit you control, and then you will give a unit +2 might. Okay, that's interesting. Now, upon first glance, and having never seen a card like this before, I'm not totally sure how the mechanics of it operate. So there seems to be a base cost, 2 energy, 1 red power, but then there's that additional equip cost down below. That might be to switch it between units. Like if you want to switch the unit it's attached to, maybe that's an additional cost that you can do that with. I'm kind of understanding this to be like, you can equip this from your hand for the 2 energy cost and the 1 power cost to a unit initially at reaction speed, and then maybe change your equipped unit by paying an additional red. That would be kind of cool. I don't know if that's going to be at reaction speed, but either way, the fact that we're getting equipment cards is really cool and really thematic to League of Legends, where you buy items for units in Summoner's Rift to buff them up. So yeah, very, very cool here. It's going to be a very different way to use gear, although not a gear for the purposes of Azir. We'll see how that ends up looking as we get through more cards. This one, though, does seem like it will be a gear for Azir. Let's go ahead and take a look at Starax Gauge. We have a 3 energy, 2 green power cost. Quick Draw, once again, has reaction, and when you play it, you will attach it to a unit. And then again, we don't know if that extra green power cost means you can change the equipped target. I do kind of hope and wonder that's what it means, but this one will give a +3. So the first thing I'm thinking about here is like comparing this to a card like Cleave, where for 1 energy, you know, it's a spell at action speed, you'll give a unit +3 might. It's only on attack though, so these have the versatility of being offensive and defensive, although they are much greater in cost. So that's going to be something very significant to consider, but we'll have to see how the actual rules and mechanics of these cards work before we can give a true evaluation of how good or not they'll be. But it's just super interesting to see that we are getting these equipment cards in the first place. Trinity Force, another classic weapon from League of Legends. We have a 4 energy, no power cost gear. It also gives an additional ability to the unit. In this case, when I hold, score 1 point, also gives +2 might, and then equip for an orange, attach this to a unit you control. Okay, so that actually makes a little bit more sense. This doesn't have the quick draw ability, so I guess it doesn't initially equip upon casting. You have to pay the 4 energy and then pay the 1 orange power to equip this to a unit you control. So that makes a lot more sense with how Starax and Longsword work in terms of like the quick draw ability. But this also wouldn't have the reaction speed, it seems like. So this is going to be a little bit of a slower gear, not so usable on defense, but definitely helps you set up those hold points. And I can see this in a deck like the hold versions of Set, where you equip this to yellow Set, make that thing as huge as possible, and then try to hold from there. Let me go back and just see real quick. I don't think Starax and Longsword have additional effects. Okay, so we'll have to look at the bottom text there for the equipments. Let's take a look at Guardian Angel. I can only imagine what this does. If you come from League of Legends, we probably have a good idea. So it is a 2 energy, no initial power cost, but you will pay a power to equip this to a unit you control. If I would die, kill Guardian Angel instead, heal me, exhaust me, and recall me. Okay, pretty interesting. Green is getting 3 more copies of Zhonya's Hourglass, I guess, and this one has more upside. It is going to be giving your unit +1 might. I guess it only protects one specific unit that you attach it to. That's not much of a downside, though, because you're going to equip it to your best unit, right? So I don't see that being much of a downside compared to Zhonya's. The one true downside is that Zhonya's can be hidden for 0 energy and 1 power. This, you do have to cast the 2, but the way I play my green decks, at least, I mean, I treat Zhonya's like a turn 1 play, where if I don't have a 2-drop, I'll play the Zhonya's out, and then the next thing I play is going to be protected generally. This will operate much the same way, where you can play Guardian Angel, and then later on in the game, when you want to actually equip it to something, you can do that. So yeah, this card, in most ways, seems like a direct upgrade to Zhonya's. Very interesting, very cool. I like this set 2 mechanic a lot. This is really, really cool. All right, let's take a look at Lucian Merciless. We have a 3-drop, 3 might, orange unit, no power cost, Weapon Master. Okay, so now we're going to see what Weapon Master actually does. When you play me, you may equip one of your equipments to me for a power less, even if it's already attached. Okay, so I think that confirms a couple things. It confirms that you can switch who your gears are equipped to with those power paying costs. And it looks like Weapon Master lets you do that for free, or I guess most of the gears we've seen only do it for 1 power. Maybe there are other gears that do it for multiple power. So this is a really cool card. And then the first time I conquer each turn, ready me. Okay, that is super interesting. So you're going to throw him into a battlefield and then immediately be able to recall him, or maybe gank over if you're playing like Windswept Hillock, or if you're just playing Misfortune and give him ganking inherently. So yeah, seems like a really solid 3-drop. Gonna be interested to see if there are maybe a new red leader that can, again, pair him with Sundisk, because that's really powerful. But in MF, you could play this with Ride the Wind. I mean, Ride the Wind would already ready him. So I guess you can combo him with First Mate. That's going to work pretty well, because you play this, you play First Mate. That's only 6 energy with no power, which is really cool. You send Lucian in to conquer, and then he can, again, retreat to save himself or gank over to the other battlefield. Very, very cool. Let's take a look at our next card. We have Gold. Okay, so this is our token gear. So this is the card that Draven is going to generate. So this card says, kill this at reaction speed to add a power. Oh, wow. Okay, so this is going to give us additional power so that we don't have to actually recycle our runes for certain costs. That's actually huge. I mean, we know how good Kaisa is because she gives us extra power to play with. I want to go back real quick and read how the Draven gives us those cards. When I win a combat, play a gold gear token exhausted. Okay, so by winning combats and killing units in fights, essentially, because if you go to a battlefield with no enemy unit there, it's not going to be a combat. That's important to know. You're going to get additional power to play with. That's really, really cool, actually. All right, let's take a look at Feral Strength. We have a 2-drop spell with reaction speed. Repeat 2. You may pay the additional cost to repeat the spell's effect. Oh, okay. That's really, really cool. So it's a 2-drop, give a unit +2 this turn. Obviously, it's in green, so it's directly comparable to Discipline. Now, Discipline has the upside of drawing a card. This has the potential upside of costing 4 and giving 4 might. So both cards are good. I mean, I can see this in some builds just outright replacing On Guard, especially in non-Master Yi green builds where you don't always want to send units alone, like in Leona or Lee Sin, stuff like that. You want to send multiple units together, and On Guard just gets a lot less value. This is like a slightly worse Discipline when you're not paying the additional 2, and then in some cases you can pay the additional 2. It's not going to be quite as big as a Primal Strength, but at least you get the flexibility of being able to use it on a lower curve or just sinking all your mana into it. That is really, really cool. So far, every card we've seen seems like a banger. Let's take a look at Doran Shield, really popular starting item for League of Legends. This is a 1-drop, no power cost, but for a power, you can equip this to a unit you control. +1 might, and gives the unit tank. This is also super cool. Tank is a slightly underutilized keyword skill in set 1. Of course, it's only set 1. We can't expect everything to be fully explored yet. But this is cool. Giving any unit you want the ability to gain tank is actually going to be a huge form of skill expression, because you can just put this on your biggest unit and protect all your small units behind it in a battlefield. Or if you can do your Riftbound math correctly, you can put this on a really small unit, but if you can calculate the math, you can make it so that your opponent's known attackers can't kill your tank and then do enough damage to kill your next best unit. So that's really, really cool. Okay, again, every card so far, really exciting. Let's take a look. I think we have our first epic here. Let's see. I'm not even going to try. Svellsongur. I'm going to just call it that. We have a 3-drop, 1 green power cost. Once again, a gear. This set is looking really gear heavy. And we see Nunu and Willump in the background. Very cool spoiler. All right, so let's look at this equipment first. It's a gear and equipment. So equipment seems to be a specific type of gear. I'm getting that here from the wording with gear and then equipment next to it. So this is giving 0 might. That's really interesting. No effect text there, just flavor text. Now this is going to equip for 1 energy and 1 power. Okay, so we're seeing the relevance of Lucian's ability, where you're going to reduce the equip cost by 1 power. If you had this plus Lucian, you would still have to equip for 1 energy, but negate the power. I wonder why in the keyword they're repeating the cost as opposed to just having the cost listed once. Maybe that's just like a translation thing. We'll see when we actually see the cards in English with their proper text. As this is attached to a unit, copy that unit's text to this equipment's effect text for as long as this is attached to it. Okay, that's kind of confusing. Again, translation stuff, not going to go super in depth on it, but do you basically get to duplicate your card's ability here? So let's just say you equipped this to Wielder of Water, who says when he attacks or defends alone, gain +2 might. If you equip this, is he getting +2 might twice? That's kind of interesting if that's how it works. I wonder how it works with activated abilities, though. I'm assuming if you have like an on-play ability on your unit, this wouldn't really do too much to get more value out of that. But again, we don't know the exact wording yet. We'll have to kind of wait and see. But a cool card for more static effects or potentially effects you can trigger later throughout your turns. Let's take a look at Overzealous Fan. I think this is a Draven card, at least in archetype. We have a 2 energy, 2 might unit. When I defend, you may kill me to move an attacking unit to its base. Interesting. So sort of a unit form of fight or flight. The fact that you have to sacrifice the unit is kind of weird, but I guess what you can do is you can throw this in a battlefield where you have multiple units. This thing is going to almost certainly die anyway because it's only 2 might, so you sacrifice it to push out their biggest unit. That definitely has some applications potentially, although I'll have to kind of tinker with it more to see how good it really is. But I can definitely see the potential in this card with the way it's worded for sure. All right, Bork. We have Blade of the Rune King. Let's see. Another gear equipment. We have a 3-drop, 1 power cost, and then equip it for a yellow cost. Okay, this actually looks like it's formatted in the proper English. Maybe those other ones are mistakes where the cost is listed again in the keyword, or maybe again it's just a translation thing. But this is going to say kill a friendly unit. Okay, so that's actually going to be an additional part of the cost. So you're going to pay a yellow and kill a friendly unit to have to attach this to one of your units. However, you do get +4 might out of it. So I don't know, these cards are seeming a little costly because they have their initial play cost, the 3 and the 1 power, you know, when you're not accounting for quick draw, right? Because quick draw seems like they get an attachment for free essentially, but I'm sure that is sort of built into the cost of the card. This is essentially 3 energy, 2 power cost, and kill a friendly unit on top. I mean, we know something like Victor, maybe even Azir, can make good use out of this by sacrificing tokens, but yeah, that's going to be setting you back an entire turn to do this. I wonder if seals are going to be more important with these cards if they end up being super meta. The problem with seals, though, is like we're already playing with such a low hand inherently in the game of Riftbound that by dumping your hand out for gears and seals, what are you doing with like units in your hand? You only start the game with 5 cards. If 2 or 3 of those are gears, you dump them out. Yes, they stay on the board permanently, but now you're playing with 2 cards in hand. It's going to be a little bit awkward. This is another epic, by the way, so that's worth keeping an eye on too. Let's go ahead and take a look at our next card. We have the Draven Legend. All right, so he is a red-purple, which I think many people saw coming. It just makes a lot of sense. The opposite of Darius in many ways, and then another Jinx, Annie sort of archetype. Now he says, when you win a combat, draw 1. Okay, this is huge. Having a legend with more built-in draw power is something we've desperately needed in this game because, again, like I just talked about a minute ago, we're always playing with super low hand sizes. I think most players, at least in the West, are trying to mitigate that by playing all the battlefields that draw cards, because we want to draw a lot of cards, we want to have a lot of options. We don't want to really be playing by the top deck, right? And Draven helps fix that problem. That's very, very cool. So far, seems like all the red-purple legends between this guy, Annie, and Jinx, they give you extra resources in some way, which is really strong. This just being an outright draw without having to actually dump our hand is going to be really, really nice. And then it does give you the reminder text, you win if only your unit remains after the combat. So that seems to mean like if the units sort of tie in combat, you don't win that combat and you don't draw a card. Very important to know. And you don't want that to happen either, because then when you go into that battlefield with another unit, it's not going to be considered a combat. So very important for how you're going to maneuver your offensive turns with Draven. But I am a big, big fan of this legend. This is looking very cool. Let's take a look at Spinning Axe. This is going to be a signature gear equipment for Draven. It's a 2-drop. You can pay a red or a purple power. It does have the quick draw ability, so it can be attached immediately. And then equip for a power of any color. And then temporary. If this is unattached, kill it at the start of its controller's beginning phase. Okay. Very interesting way to use temporary as somewhat of a punishment if you don't have this thing equipped. I do wonder, though, we don't know the rule yet on what happens if a unit dies while it has a gear equipped. Does the gear automatically go away, or is it going to just go back to your base? If the gear goes away when the unit dies, that's going to make these things a lot harder to justify playing competitively, because you're investing 2 cards to get removed by 1. That's going to be really, really rough on card economy. But this is going to give a +3 might modifier for a relatively fair cost, I got to say. So yeah, we'll see how that rule ends up working. That's going to be a big, big thing, whether or not units that die with equipments take their equipments with them to the grave. Let's go ahead and take a look at Irelia, Blade Dancer. So we've got Yasuo colors, we've got green, purple, and then when you choose a friendly unit, you may exhaust me and pay a rune to ready it. Okay, interesting. So when you choose a friendly unit, that seems like it would mean with a spell or something. So I guess if you cast a discipline on your unit, you can pay that rune to ready it. That's kind of cool, actually. It's very, very cool. And then when you conquer, you may pay 1 to ready me. So very similar stuff to Set, where it has an ability upon conquer that can ready it, which means you can then use its other ability multiple times per turn. And the other ability having something that pays power. So very similar playstyle to Set. I wonder if it's going to be as tough on runes as Set is. It seems like definitely could be if you want to use the legend ability that much. Also promotes a lot of movement, just like the Yasuo leader, although it's in a different way. Super interesting for sure. I can see a lot of potential with this legend as well. Let's take a look. We have Renata Glasc entering as a blue-yellow legend. We have Victor and Lux colors. Let's see what she does. When you or an ally hold, you may exhaust me to play a gold gear token exhausted. Okay, so this is not the only legend, or I should say Draven is not the only legend that's going to be using the gold gear tokens. Renata is also getting access to them. And then while your score is within 3 scores of the victory score, you're going to have your gold tokens add an additional energy. Wow, that is insane. Okay, so when you're close to winning the game, your gold gear tokens not only add a power, but they also add an energy. That's huge. This seems like it's going to be very, very strong. Very different play style, though, than Victor and Lux. So that's going to be very, very cool to play around. You still want to be somewhat aggressive because you want to get within 3 points of the victory score to make your gold tokens that much more valuable. But you're not going to play into the super wide token spam, obviously, because your legend doesn't do that for you inherently. There's nothing stopping you from playing all the yellow cards that do all that kind of stuff. Like, you can play Machine Evangel, you can play Vanguard Captain, but still, I think this is going to be a little bit more of a go tall, hit with big unit type of thing, and then generate those gold tokens. Very cool stuff. Let's take a look at Sivir, which is our last card for today. I already can't wait to see when they're going to reveal more cards. But we've got the MF colors. We've got orange and purple. When you recycle a rune, you may exhaust me to play a gold gear token instead. Okay, we have another unit that's going to use the gold gear tokens. And then when 1 or more enemy units die, ready me. That doesn't specify anything about where they die, whose units die, what kills them. That's super interesting. This is so cool too, because we know that the gold tokens are going to be all about generating power, and this seems like you want to play a lot of units that have power costs, but on your following turn, your next unit with power costs is going to be paid by the gold gear token. That's really awesome, and I don't see why you'd ever need to, but if you absolutely needed to, you can just float a power, which is going to recycle a rune by game mechanics, and then you can make a gold gear token. So you can actually do that at any time on command pretty much, which is really cool. You can even do it during your opponent's turn, because the ability to recycle your runes, I believe, is an action speed ability. And this is just so cool. Like, looking through all these cards, again, we don't have the context of the full set. We don't even have the context of how the set 1 meta is going to finalize its development. But all these cards are super cool. I mean, seeing the new mechanic of gear equipment, insane. All the cards read relatively decently from what we know about Riftbound thus far. I'm super excited, and I was very happy that I was able to go over these reveals with you guys as soon as I possibly could put a video out. So yeah, of course, I want to know in the comments below, what are your thoughts on these cards? What do you think? How do you think the direction of Riftbound is looking after seeing the new card types, the new couple units, the new couple legends we saw? Let me know in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.